Welcome back. We are not going to be able to bring you the finals just yet. Turns out we're going to actually bring you the fourth game, I believe, if I'm correct. Correct me on that?
Yes, is the fourth game. I'm not quite sure how the previous games have turned out. Also, hi, I may sound a little bit different because I am different. I'm not Rankonius. My name's Lord WizKid. You probably heard me earlier, and I'm going to be replacing Rank. Unfortunately, he is quite tired, as in Australia, it's somewhere on the lines of
6
God
a.m.
knows when in the morning.
Yeah, it's ungodly in the morning, but we have Resist versus the lovely guys of
Neilm.
Neilm. Yeah, Neilm. I was right.
Yes.
And starting off, it's a. I'm assuming that one team already has 2 wins, as this apparently could be the last game, and that's just numerically how it's going to work. And I think, if I heard right from our admins, it was actually Resist that is in the lead 2 wins. So they've been doing good so far. I have no idea how they've been doing it necessarily, how they've been winning, but I have to imagine that it's started off with some strong NeiruMah play. Shout out to
Yeah.
NeiruMah.
So we're seeing the picks and bans coming through right now. You can see Jingchan, Humbat, Sol, and Giannis have all been banned out, and we're just getting through for the picks now.
All right, so first picks coming out, and it looks like it's gonna go over to, yep, that's gonna be a a Zhong first pick.
Yeah, Zhong first pick, followed very closely by a Geb and an Isis coming out from the side of Neilm. So they definitely want to try and make sure they've got a very good support around, and also the Isis is probably one of the top mid laners currently, bar Zhong and Giannis and all of those very good gods as well.
So Team Resist taking a little bit of time to think about this one. They want to decide on what to go with, and looks like they're highlighting and gonna lock in the hell first off, and deciding on the last one. Now, Zhong is actually considered the best mage right now. He's been in kind of an awkward spot in recent history, but ever since his couple of buffs and health increase, he's actually become a considerably scary frontline mage.
Yeah, he is very difficult to actually try and tackle down. He's so tanky. He gets something in his ultimates, he gets up to 40 physical and magical protections. So just sticking a small bit of extras on him, he is effectively unkillable in that. I mean, to put it into perspective, Tyr's defensive stance gives him 50 protections, both physical and magical. So it's quite a lot, and not to mention, he has some very high base health now, and some very high physical scaling, and even his magical scaling is pretty strong as well. It's one of the only 2 mages in the game. Himself and Freya are the only 2 mages that actually get that scaling.
All right, well, Odin locked in for Neilm, of course, and I have to imagine that this is going to be a very respectable pick to counteract this hell. The only thing I'd like to see past this point is maybe a Thor, depending on whether or not they want to throw this Odin into the soul lane. That way they can really get a wombo combo into hell in the soul lane over and over and over again, as we've seen plenty of times from some of the other teams in the Challenger Series. But bans come out on the third side. Neilm bans out Athena, and Team Resist ban out Shablanke. Now waiting on Neilm to pick up their next person, and it looks like they're going to lock in the Serqet.
Yep, Serqet, a very strong jungler again. She has fallen off recently, but that's mostly because she's been banned out so commonly in pretty much every single ranked game that a lot of people don't actually get time to practice her. She is still quite a strong god. I mean, one of the things that I keep on forgetting is her Deathbane, her first ability. That actually has protection reduction on it. So she does even more damage with it. So you got to be quite careful about getting in the midst of her, because she is going to start hurting a lot.
Yeah, another factor is her last breath, her ultimate, is going to be able to shut down Hell's healing 100%. So having that ability on her is actually going to be very crucial to some of these fights, maybe isolating Hell at certain intervals of the game and just trying to make big impacts there. But here's a pretty good pick. We've got Team Resist picking up Khepri, so adding on to the survivability of the team by adding a revival, essentially, it is definitely going to make it a very hard roster to take out. So you've got Zhong already, who's a tanky presence, and then on top of that, you add on Hell and Khepri, making him almost unkillable entirely. And then on the other side, Neilm is going to round out their draft with a
Cupid.
So
yeah, sorry about the production fail just then. Although 2 gives would be a very interesting team to fight with.
That'd be very funny. Double shields. All right. Well, Cupid gonna round out this team. I'm assuming this is gonna be the Bluestone Cupid that a lot of people have favored in the past week. He's been extremely powerful, doing a lot of damage. Seen him a couple of times and haven't really gotten to watch it up close and personal in an actual game, but I imagine that it would be very painful to experience as the opposing AD carry.
Yeah, however, then again, on the side of Team Resist, Turnip is playing this Hu-Yi, of which we've seen him a lot recently. He has become absolutely ridiculous. He has so much potential damage with that ricochet, which although it doesn't get too much early on because you're not really in the spots to be able to get these sort of double or triple bounces, when you get into these jungle fights, especially around Gold Fury and Fire Giant, he does insane levels of damage, of which, if you can get a good Mark of the Crow, follow that up with a ricochet, and that gets sort of 2 or 3 bounces onto someone, you can actually 100-0 them. It is quite ridiculous, and so it's going to be quite an interesting game to see. It looks like Neilm's looking for the late game in this sort of one. Well, no, sorry, they're looking for the mid to early game, actually. They're not really looking for late. But they do have some late game scaling along with the Serqet and the Geb with his ultimate, which rips off a lot of health if he initiates with it.
Yeah, I feel like Neilm is definitely looking for those earlier kind of 4-man, 5-man roams. I mean, they have a lot of isolation tools, so the Geb Cataclysm plus Isis Circle Protections and a Field of Love is basically going to be a end-all, beat-all, you lose this team fight. And the same story can be made over in the solo lane with a Odin, Serqet, and Isis rotation. So a lot of flexibility and a lot of good early kind of grouping stages for Neilm. Team Resist, on the other hand, has essentially the late-game monstrosity team composition. They've got Hell to bring out uber amounts of healing. They've got Zhong, a good source of damage that is already a hard target to kill. Combine that with Hell, of course, then he becomes a hard target to kill with 2 heals. And Hu-Yi is going to be able to rain damage on the backside of the fight and not really have too much to worry about. Now, the one thing I do want to point out is that even though Neilm have the early grouping style team composition, I think that they might struggle a little bit in dealing with Thor.
Yeah, that could definitely be a big problem for them. However, we're not going to be able to find out until we get into the game. I am just going to we're going to go to a very quick break. Sorry about this. We are close to getting into the game, but not quite. Hopefully, it shouldn't be too long anyway. So do not go anywhere. We'll be right back. This is the 4th game of the 2nd semi-final. We are Team Resist versus Neilm. We will see you in a little bit.
And we are back. We told you it'd be a quick break, and here we are, ready to go. Resist versus Neilm. I was actually wrong earlier. Neilm is the ones actually up 2-1 on Resist, this being the 4th game. Could be the deciding factor. Neilm could walk away with a victory, or we could see Resist make the turnaround, bring it to a 2-2, and go to a game 5, making it a full-out series.
Yeah, so this is going to be a very interesting one. Team Resist, I believe that their first spot, so this order side that they're on, going to be quite a good one for them. They usually prefer this sort of side. Anyway, we should probably go through all of the gods that are in the game right now. So we're going to see Turnip playing ADC on that Hu-Yi, then his support is going to be Leftsyndrome playing that Shadow Khepri. deadlymidget's going to be the Zhong over in the mid lane, followed by the Mollusk playing that red pot Thor. Balentine is going to be Team Resist solo laner on that Hell, which usually you see her in the mid lane, so interesting changed up there.
Over in the red jerseys, we've got Neilm, Grishank in the jungle as Serqet.
Actually, sorry about this. We're going to see an invade already. Leftsyndrome is on pretty much no health. NeiruMah actually going to get first blood there. So that's going to be a big win for Neilm.
Getting that first blood is going to be very crucial, and giving it to Geb, not necessarily the most ideal. Usually if you want to give a support the first blood, you'd rather it be an aggressive one like Ares or Ymir. But before I go ahead and get started into another spiel, let me try and finish this off before any more action happens. Covi in the solo lane is Odin, NeiruMah in the support role is Geb with the first blood, JiminyGlick in the middle lane is Isis, and finally PAndaCat in the hunter role as Cupid with red pot and a a death toll.
Yeah, going for the death toll, wants to try and get that extra bit of mana and also healing. I mean, he's doing a lot of damage to Turnip here, who's already on under 100 HP. He's got to be quite careful about this. He's just taking so much damage, and this is what I was talking about. A Cupid does so much damage early compared to the Hu-Yi, who doesn't get the chance to do these double or triple ricochets, so it's going to be quite difficult for Turnip to come up to this early game, but he can potentially do it.
Yeah, they're just going to go ahead and clear out this purple buff for their own benefit. I'm pretty sure they're giving this over to Cupid as he doesn't have a purple buff just yet. But I do like your point, and you know, even more so, I think Neilm is just really living on this idea of really harassing the enemy jungle camp and just excelling their advantage. I'm surprised to see the 4-man rotation not come out onto the dual lane. They could have potentially made a big play there, but I guess they didn't want to bring over the opposing jungler mid laner. So a sound decision. But you know, what do you think is going to be the defining factor of this game? I mean, the mid lane matchup, the jungler matchup, or you know, a particular itemization? I mean, where do you feel is going to be one of the key focal points?
Well, I mean, I think right now it is purely just the fact that Neilm is being so aggressive, and as I mentioned, they have a very early game, mid game composition with a couple of late games. Actually, going to see mollusk going to get taunted in using Grishank's Cobra's Kiss. However, they aren't going to be following that up after the nice tectonic rift that just kept them out just a little bit, so they weren't going to be able to touch them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of aggressive invades into the jungle on the side of Neilm. They've really wanted to try and push their advantage as early as possible because they know that they have the best chance to snowball the game that way. I mean, Hell is a late game carry, Hu-Yi is a late game carry, Zhong is a little bit more mid-game, but still really is powerful in the late game. So if they can just snowball a little bit, it makes their life a lot easier. But Cupid around the Gold Fury, don't think they were thinking about doing it, but I think that they want to try and go for some kind of aggressive play in the dual lane, and I think that Resist knows that's what they want to do. Maybe?
Yeah,
Maybe?
I think they may have seen them go in, but actually this could be Leftsyndrome here. Cupid ultimate's going to come out. Turnip doesn't have any way of getting out. He does finally get his dive bomb since the since the Fields of Love finally went off, but unfortunately for Neilm, they're not going to be able to find that much damage.
Yeah, the Fields of Love, I think they were overestimating the damage a little bit there. But at the same time, I like the aggression, I like the effort used there. So Left Harpy's going to go over to Neilm, and Right Harpies very well could go the same way, as it looks like the jungler and mid laner are just electing to do the back Harpies together in that particular trade-off. So Serqet, yep, she's going to be able to get those by herself for free. Meanwhile, over in the solo lane, just a little bit of boxing going on between Covi and Balentine.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's not really going to amount to much, apart from if Balentine gets pretty low. He does have a lot of healing, as obviously he's Hell. The interesting thing to note, there's been a lot of aggression from this Serqet in the jungle. However, she's only about 50 or so gold ahead of the Thor. He's actually been able to catch up pretty nicely. Leftsyndrome may get caught out a bit. Luckily, PAndaCat doesn't have any mana at all, so he's not really going to be able to take too much. But they are going to be able to take out this attack speed again.
Yeah, they've really put an emphasis on denying jungle from the roster of Resist. But Thor comes in, Circle Protection was there to heal up a couple of the members of Neilm in the meantime, and now Khepri Ultimate is ticking on to Thor, who's going to be able to get out just fine. Looks like all that effort is going to result in no kills. Only 1 kill so far this game, despite all this aggression.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that happened there was the fact that most of Neilm were really out of mana. They didn't have too much. They weren't they didn't want to fight. It was a very bad fight for them, especially as the Mollusk came in with an amazing ultimate, and Leftsyndrome had a very nice Khepri ultimate as well, just to make sure that he was going to keep them away. The Mollusk was still going to be relatively safe, and because Neilm had no follow-up, it just made sure that it was a nice free one, but Resist also had no follow-up, so there was just no real way to actually get anything out of it, unfortunately.
So a couple of actives coming out on the side of Resist. You've got an Aegis, a Shell, and a Purification Bead. So Shell's going to allow for some a bit more aggressive fights. And then the Aegis onto Hell is basically trying to avoid some of this poison ticking. So I really like how that's going so far. Meanwhile, Balentine might actually be in a lot of trouble here. There comes the Ring of Spears as Serqet comes in and just cleans up. Grishank's going to walk away with that kill very easily. Not really much to be said about that one.
It was just like, I watched Covi and he just dropped immediately onto the Hell, and it was about half of Balentine's health. That was just ridiculous to watch. One thing that is interesting to note is we see Grishank jumping in looking for the Mollusk, but they're only going to be able to get a couple of silences and stuns on him. But Covi actually is currently building this warded shield, which I find incredibly interesting. And he's actually going into Onkile. I was originally thinking he was going to go into the AoE magical power reduction. So
I think that's called Runic Shield. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that one. That would have been a very interesting item. I think that it would have worked out pretty well. Hell as well as Zhong, both very powerful. So to reduce the magical damage that they put out is very beneficial, especially when you consider that Covi is going to be in the faces of these two characters, ideally, in most of these team fights. So I would have liked that, but on C-Lane, not a bad item either. It gives you that little bit of extra power as well as CDR. And on top of all that, it gives you the immediate big burst of magic resistance. So very good item choice all the same. Now, I think more importantly is when is Hell going to get a combat?
Oh, actually, on dual lane, PAndaCat's going to be finished off here. Oh, is he? No, there we go. Finally, someone finish him off, please. He's actually going to be alive still a little bit longer. Going to get pulled away, though, is NeiruMah, and it looks like PAndaCat is going to get out.
Yeah, that's not fun. So Geb's shield plus circle protections ensures Cupid's survival there, leading Neilm to a pretty good feeling of saying, alright, well, they don't have the damage yet, so let's take that information and just try to force the issue. But now, Grishank wants to go in on Turnip. He's going to use the jump. Nope. Starts off with the taunt, uses the dash, and is just going to knock him into a corner. NeiruMah, being the wonderful support he is, takes the kill.
Yeah, he's just doing an incon. Like, don't worry about it. He's just doing an incon. There is a little bit of posturing, though, around this gold tier. They could very much start it off if they want to, and it's already on half health. Team Resist are here with the Thor, but, I mean, he's not going to be able to do too much. He does get a nice TP in, but he's not going to be able to get it, is he? No, Neilm takes it.
Yeah, very good knockup by Geb and a nice stun ball. They knew what they needed to do to stop Thor from being able to take the Gold Fury. That's just something that you cannot allow at this level of play, to just get a Gold Fury stolen away from you when you have that much CC at your disposal. That's just silly. So I admire the effort by Thor to try and take it. The Mollusk wanted to try and make a big play there and help his team not fall really far behind, but unfortunately that's just way too much to ask for. So now Neilm sitting a pretty commanding 4K ahead of their opponents.
Yeah, and more importantly, it's the same amount in XP as well, which is going to be about a level or two in differences. I mean, the biggest one is the two junglers. So these two, which I said were even earlier on, there's now a 2-level difference in between them, and there is actually a 1,000 gold lead roughly between them as well. So Serqet going to be able to get that Jotun's Wrath off earlier, going to be able to do a lot more rotating. Even though Thor has a very large rotation capability, Serqet's going to be using that ultimate so many more times, and she's going to be sticking into this solo lane, which, I mean, it's a hell you probably want to be staying and camping that solo lane to try and make sure she doesn't get too fed.
Yeah, and she's already posturing around the soul lane. They might just go in on her just because, but the blink comes out, and Grishank not able to find the taunt or the distance to really lock down this hell, and they're just going to back off. I like the effort, though. I like the fact that Serqet's always applying pressure on some part of the map. She's not just being satisfied with the fact that, okay, I'm ahead by 2 kills. I've got quite a bit in my favor. Let me just go ahead and ride this late game. No, go ahead, keep the pressure, keep the aggression, find kills where you can, and you can look for more plays like the goal fear we just saw. But both mid harpies going over towards the side of Neilm, and that's just more gold to this gold lead. And in fact, they're not even going to go for that. They're going to look for this kill on the hell, which immediately pops the Aegis. It's just going to dance around underneath this Ring of Spirits. But again, 100% anti-heal is not going to be something you can live through.
Yeah, I mean, Neilm have drafted this composition perfectly around the hell. It's very unfortunate for the side of Team Resist, actually, because they have left open the 2 best counters. As you're going to see, the Cataclysm onto themollusk as well, he may be finished off pretty quickly. Going to get a nice teleport away, but he's not going to be anywhere near enough out. And there are 4 people over here. So I think they... Actually, looks like Resist wants to go on to PAndaCat here, as he is standing relatively far up. Unfortunately, Zhong is sitting in the middle tier 1 tower, so he's not going to be doing too much to hurt the little baby Cupid.
Yeah, Cupid playing it safe. He realizes that there's not enough information on the map to guarantee that his survival if he comes up on the wave. So just going to stay back and focus on clearing out this wave. No big deal. Cupid doesn't need to necessarily make a aggressive play on Hou-Yi just yet. And I'm interested to see how Cupid transitions into late game in comparison to Hou-Yi, because we don't get to see this matchup very often, actually.
Yeah, this is a relatively uncommon matchup. Usually you'll see someone else other than the Cupid, because quite often Hou-Yi isn't picked up immediately. You'll see someone else picked up more often than not, just because they may not know how to play the Hou-Yi as effectively. However, in SPL we're starting to see it more commonly, as he is just such a strong character. He can do ridiculous amounts of damage, as I said. I mean, if we have a look at the player damage graph, he isn't topping it, but he's the highest of quite a lot of his team. Hell, only about 100, well, not even 100, it's 27 ahead of him right now. He is pretty close to being quite high, even though he's on a team which doesn't have any kills compared to the 6 kills on the side of Neilm. This is one of those gods that you don't want to be in a back alleyway, especially because he's going to be able to triple bounce you in there.
Grishank just chilling out in the purple buff pit, and he's going to be forced to escape there, as there's way too many members of Resist in a nearby area. And it looks like they're just going to have a standoff near this purple buff. I mean, guess that's just where we've reached in this game, where there's standoff.
This is exactly what Neilm wants, though. As long as they can take this farm, they're making sure the Resist doesn't get the farm as well, of which they are a late game team. I mean, look at them. They have a Hell, a Zhong and a Hou-Yi, of which the Khepri and Thor is there to support them. This is one of those teams that you very much want to try and deal with. As you're going to see, Serqet going onto the Hell right now. The ultimate from Odin comes out as well. This is another dead Hell. She's sitting at 0-3 already. Thor's forced to use his ultimate and get away. And now Khepri as well, also sitting on the sidelines. Doesn't really want to get touched, as Gold Fury is just about to come up.
Yeah, this is exactly the team, like what I expected out of this team comp. They're grouped up really early in comparison to most team compositions, and now it's starting to show impact on Resist. They don't have an actual answer to a lot of this, but here comes the team fight. Circle protection as well as Fields of Love is going to do a lot of burst damage, and even with the Khepri ultimate, it's just not going to be enough to save the Zhong. He's going to be taken out by Grishank. Meanwhile, Hou-Yi is forced to use the jump out, and Gold Fury is going to be started up yet again by Neilm, and I think this time around it's going to be taken quite easily.
Yeah, Turnip's not going to be able to do too much. He tried to get a very nice ricochet off, but unfortunately it's just not enough to be able to counteract the insane amount of damage that Neilm's doing, and more importantly, there's no way that he could burst through any of Neilm to be able to do enough damage to get a kill. So the best thing that he decided to do was just sit back and let Neilm take this Gold Fury, but that's going to increase their lead even more, currently sitting at 7,000 gold in the lead and 8,000 different in XP as well. This is looking very nasty for the side of Team Resist, actually, and they have to win this game, because if they don't, that will mean that Neilm will go through to the finals, which is pretty big.
I mean, this kind of goal deficit and experience difference in a 13-minute game, or excuse me, a 14-minute game thus far is really huge. Actually, that's a very scary number to look in this and say, all right, we can get past this, guys. We can do something about this. But realistically speaking, their win condition is still here. They have Hell, they have Zhong, they have Hou, all of which are pretty powerful characters, some of which harder to kill than others. But right now, I think Neilm's just basically saying we understand exactly how to deal with all the things you have on your team, and you're going to have to find the better answer to dealing with us. And I think that that's probably why Resist is struggling so much, is because they can't deal with the 5-man rotation by Neilm, because that's exactly where their team suffers. Their team cannot 5-man rotate as effectively as Neilm's team right now.
Yeah, and more importantly, even if they were to successfully get a 5-man rotation, there's not going to be too much that they can find off of it. They're going to be quite low after they do it. They maybe will get a tier 1 tower. We're going to see in the middle lane again, that's deadlymidget going down. They're focusing one specific target and just going for it, and if they get any kills after that, that's just a bonus. I mean, that was 4 ultimates used for one person, but shutting down these characters is very important.
And I also like the fact that they do it in Odin's case just to ensure that he's getting the passive. But Hell is able to survive a little bit longer with the Khepri ultimate. Meanwhile, Thor sets up a pretty nice dunk to try and split up the fight. Hell dancing around, taking quite a bit of damage from Odin, but it doesn't look like the members of Neilm are going to be able to do anything else. But then all of a sudden, Grishank under tower, able to find the kill onto the Mollusk. And I don't know if they can necessarily defend this tower very effectively. Hell has to put herself way out of position just to clear wave, and Hou is not feeling too comfortable either, so Odin charging up the bird bomb. He's gonna go deep for this one, and he's gonna set up the Ring of Spears, all in invested. The 2 members of Resist is now, that's nearing a deicide. Shutdown comes out from deadlymidget onto Grishank. Turnip finds the kill onto Covi, and they want to turn this back around. Geb is the last weak target that they can pick up, and he's not able to get the ricochet on Hou to secure that kill on NeiruMah.
Yeah, unfortunately wasn't going to be able to get that kill. However, Resist picked up 2 kills in that fight, which is huge, and more importantly, that was on the Serqet. That's going to shut her down. She was sitting at 6-1. That was an insane amount of gold going to whoever got that kill. And Covi also got finished up. He took too many tower shots, and unfortunately, as we talked about, he was building on Keel. He did go into Spirit's Robe, but he's got very little physical protection. If you actually have a look, Spirit's Robe is only 40 physical protection, and although that sounds like a lot, it's not enough when you're sitting taking about 3 or 4 tower shots. Even with the shield that you have, it's not going to be enough to keep you alive. And even though they got a very nice tower dive off, deadlymidget with that Zhong ultimate, who is sitting very tanky and not taking and doing so much damage with it, he was just able to finish off a lot more than they really would have liked.
Into taunt, into Last Whisper, that might be it. Yep, that's going to be a dead Balentine. No way in heck you're going to survive all that damage. But again, Neilm just doing these really high aggressive early rotations and getting a lot out of them. Meanwhile, Cupid trying to push up the wave in the middle lane, and oh my goodness, are they really going to be that aggressive? Okay, 5 guys started up by Neilm.
Yeah, they can do it. They do need to use the Isis ultimate, I think, though, to be able to try and stay this too much. Thor's going to come into the air as well, and they are immediately going to back off. They know that they can't fight and then do Fire Giant at the same time, but Thor does land down.
He does land down on Odin, which might not have been the best result. Meanwhile, all the members of Neilm are turning their attention over to Hou, who's just raining some suns in the background. And now the fight's all split up. They don't really know exactly where to approach, but Shell pops out. Circle Protection is going to be activated. That's going to heal a couple of members of Neilm, as now they focus down Zhong, who immediately gets the Khepri ultimate put onto him, but he's going to be stunned out and killed off by the Grishank. And yeah, it's going to be Odin diving under tower. No physical protections, no problem. He wants to tank it up, but now Serqet in a little bit of trouble, throws the poison out. They want to try and spread this onto a couple people. Aegis used to keep Hell alive just long enough, and she's actually able to start healing up her teammates. This should be a dead Odin at the very least. He might get out.
He could. He's gonna get out. Nice cataclysm. Actually gonna save him as well. Mollusk is gonna get stunned out. Beautiful heart bomb stun as well, and that's gonna make sure that they're definitely not gonna be able to get this Covi. Just sitting on about 200 HP right now, just slowly healing up, knowing that although there's a very quick hell chasing him, still not gonna be quick enough.
That was funny. Alright, so unfortunately for the members of Resist, Covi was not killed, but fortunately enough for Resist, they are reaching the point now where they can start to box and compete in terms of team fighting with Neilm. They're still not there just yet, especially since Hell kind of far behind, Thor really far behind as well, so a lot of their players still need to kind of catch up before they can start to feel a bit more comfortable, but it's starting to reach the point where if Hell doesn't die first in the fight, it's gonna probably start to go Resist's way.
Yeah, it could start turning into Resist's favor now. It's got to this little bit of a later game than I think Neilm would have liked, but that's because this is around about when everything starts getting to going. It's the 20-minute mark. Usually you don't see any Fire Giant attempts before the 20-minute. That one we saw was pretty rare, and it didn't work out. They weren't able to fight. They had to stop and turn around immediately. They were able to make a good fight afterwards, but you aren't really seeing these sort of straight up big fights around the Fire Giant taking it out before 18 minutes unless you've already decided them, you have the Isis ultimate, and you have everybody around that. We do see the pause right now. We don't know how long it'll be, so we'll just keep on talking through that. One thing that is interesting to note, Isis and Cupid have no kills yet.
Yeah, Isis and Cupid have kind of just played the role of supportive style characters. I mean, Cupid sitting on 8 assists, Isis on 11 assists. Like, by no means have they not been impactful this game. You mentioned earlier Cupid having one of the higher player damage numbers, and even right now he's actually top 3. So both of the characters that we're mentioning are at the top of the top 3 player damage numbers. It's just that they haven't necessarily secured a lot of kills, which may or may not have been beneficial for them. But at the same time, it doesn't look like it's hurt Neilm that much. However, I think that what is going to hurt them is that if they don't get a very decisive objective here soon. So something close to the effect of a Phoenix, Fire Giant, something needs to happen soon, or else they're going to start to feel the implications of this team composition that they're up against. And Gold Fury is going to be started up by the members of the series. They feel confident in getting this one, and rightfully so, they are going to be able to grab it. I'm not sure if I would try and defend. Oh, they almost got the steal. Resist able to barely secure that one, and Thor up in the air gonna dunk back down over to safety, and that's gonna be the Fire Giant call from the guys on Neilm.
And this is a beautiful Fire Giant call. It's going to make absolute sense to do this. They've just seen that Team Resist ran away from the Gold Fury. They know exactly where they are. They know that they're not going to be able to come here anywhere near. They now are suddenly walking through every single ward that Neilm has placed. This is going to be a big fight. Fire Giant is on under 10 out. Neilm take it out, and now there's going to be a big fight after this. Everyone on the side of Neilm's just backing off. They don't want to fight this. However, Team Resist wants to go in. They want to get the kills. Very nice stun onto JiminyGlick. This could be the end of him. Nice stone shield, followed by a beautiful cataclysm as well. NeiruMah is taking so much damage, though. He's going to get pulled in, and now it looks like it's going to turn around for Team Resist.
That was such a clutch cataclysm. Even though he died, only losing your Fire Giant on your support, not a bad day. I mean, it's not great, but it's also not the worst thing that could have happened. Losing it onto your carries, losing it onto your jungler, specifically Serqet, would have been awful. But now, not only do you still have Fire Giant on your main carries, but you can still defend this tier 2 tower, possibly. But Thor landing a beautiful 2-man dunk is going to set up a pretty good fight, and the cage comes out, and that's going to be a lot of damage going on to Khepri, who is going to revive in place, still taking a lot of damage, a little bit too much for his own liking, forced to leave the tower, and now it's actually Resist on the run.
Yeah, they're going to be on the run, but I don't think Neilm are going to be able to catch up to them. This hell using the... it's only a 20% speed boost, if I'm correct, on that 3, but it's enough to make sure they're not going to be able to do too much. Serqet, though, looking to get some damage onto Balentine. Very nice Aegis, though, is going to be able to counteract most of that damage. Nice attempt for the Spirit Ball through
it would have hit.
But
It would have hit if it had a little more range. It would have
little more range.
but now it looks like they want to try and siege down this middle Phoenix. Might be a bit of an aggressive call, but they're going to go ahead and stick with it. They've got a lot of large AoE circles to do this, so I'm not surprised to see them invest into this objective. But there it goes, Zhong already taking a lot of damage. PAndaCat is going to secure the kill on the deadly midget, and now a couple more large AoE circles are going to come out to try and set up another kill. Phoenix is down to its last leg, and they are going to be able to get it. They need to retreat here. They've gotten the objective. They only lost one member of their team, NeiruMah, the champion, who's just sacrifices himself time and time again to ensure his team's victory. And so far, it's working out really well for them. A fire giant and a Phoenix because of it.
Yeah, I mean, that Phoenix push was entirely able to happen because of Fire Giant. Although I've got to say now, Neilm, as the Fire Giant, is wearing off in about a minute or 30, or minute 30. They need to be finding that tier 1 tower in the duo lane and make sure they get this gold lead back. Looking at it, it actually went very briefly in Team Resist favor in terms of the gold gain. It is still going back towards Neilm, and it is still very much in the red side. However, if Resist can keep this up, they have a much better late game team composition than Neilm do. As I said beforehand, they've got a Cupid late game compared to this Hu-Yi. This Hu-Yi hasn't died that much. He's actually sitting at 3-1. As long as he can keep up, he should be pretty good. Turnip, though, actually going to be forced to use the dive bomb a little bit early. This could be a pretty bad situation for him.
Yeah, but it didn't actually turn all that bad. Just had to go ahead and retreat. And I think what's even worse is that almost all the towers have been cleared off on the side of Resist. And Serqet getting chased a little bit, but I don't think that's really a good decision. At least Hell chasing the Serqet's a little odd to me, but Cataclysm going to come out on the back side of the map. NeiruMah kind of off by himself. They're going to try and take down this tier 2 tower, the last one on the map, and they should be able to get this. Yep, there it goes. Thor going up into the air as he's taking a bit too much damage. Might come back down onto members of Neilm, who he's going to land on. Nobody. It's actually just going to be NeiruMah taking quite a bit of damage. He's probably going to die here, but is it going to be a death of champions, or is it just going to be a death for nothing? No, it's actually not going to be a death at all, as the fight is still continuing. And Zhong trying to get some damage off, and Ice is looking a little bit out of position here as NeiruMah going to use the shield to try and save him, uses the rollout, realizes he can't really do much more for his team, and just start to channel his back. And I think that Neilm needs to back off of this. Resist has a much better time in these fights just with Hell healing, and NeiruMah still trying to help out his teammates, but again, just not a lot he can do right now. Oh my goodness, Covi jumping over the wall is going to delay the push a little bit more. And actually, Fire Creeps is going to draw the attention of Resist as well.
Yep, and this is going to force at least one of them to head back. That's going to be Balentine this time around, so not too bad. Fire Giant's up in 20 seconds. This is Team Resist protocol to get in. They can very much take back this game if they want to, because they are sitting at 26 minutes in. This is what I would call the final team fight phase. This is where most late games start to kick in. However, you can see Neilm's already starting out the Fire Giant. Meanwhile, Resist don't even know it's happening. This could be free.
They have no timer. They have no timer. They're actually going to make their way over to the Gold Fury, and Hell just chilling out mid lane, so they really don't know for certain that it's happening.
I think Hell's realized.
Now they're starting to filter in after they've realized, oh wait, Fire Giant's up. And this could be the opportunity for Resist to take it. They do have a lot of tools in their favor, so they might just go ahead and go for it, but no, instead they're just going to elect to wait until their Phoenix is back up. Meanwhile, Neilm need to force the issue and at least get the Fire Giant or the Phoenix. One of the two need to happen.
Well, I mean, right now, Resist is doing a very good job keeping Fire Giant away from Neilm, and more importantly, they're taking the Gold Fury right now. You can see that Turnip was actually soloing it on the side, but he realized what he thought that he needed to go into the fight, and actually now he's deciding against it. As they have started out with Fire Giant on the side of Neilm, they could very much do it. The middle Phoenix has respawned, but Team Resist needs to try and get away into this Fire Giant pit.
Yeah, now that Turnip has actually pushed up the lane quite a bit, it's going to be a difficult argument to make for Neilm to feel comfortable with the fire mains down there. And now Thor coming down onto the back line of Neilm. They're just going to continue this fight. Cupid matching up his big AoE circle with Odin's big AoE circle. and that's gonna spell for a very troublesome time for Resist, but they turned it around. PandaCat actually gonna be the one in trouble now. Dive bomb setting up the kill. PandaCat taken out by the mollusk, and it looks like the time has come. Resist late game is here.
Yeah, the resist late game is now coming. Covi taking quite a bit of damage in the bug pool. Gonna be able to leap away. Is getting rooted though. He had a bird bomb somewhere, but it doesn't exist anymore. They are still chasing him. They need to stop doing this. They need to look for something else. Covi has so much cooldown reduction and so much mana that he's not really going to matter. Yeah, Serqet. But like he's not going to matter too much. She was split pushing. She was trying to make sure she could do something, and more importantly, that pulled their focus away from the Fire Giant. Team Resist now can't get set up for the Fire Giant. They can only deward it and get ready, which is big. Neilm needs this sort of stuff. They need to have a very good even fight. They need to be able to have a good area where JiminyGlick can just drop his ultimate. The Odin ultimate will come out along with the Cupid ultimate. After Turnips has used his escape, after Mollusk has ulted in and tried to use his combo, if they can get that perfect sort of set of combo going off, it will be insane, and Neilm will immediately win this and win the game because they could just run down middle at this point.
Well, the hard part for Neilm right now is that they want to focus down the hell first, obviously, because that is their win condition on the side of Resist. But the bigger issue is that Hell already has a full-blown Aegis and is building quite defensively. It's just way too hard to just blow her up the way you'd like to. Gold Fury going to be started off by Neilm, and it might be a mistake, as now they get caught out extremely out of position. Cataclysm used. They want to maybe go for a turnaround fight. Thor going up into the air. Who's he going to land on? And that's not going to be anybody. He misses everything. But it doesn't matter because there's not enough people actually nearby to capitalize on any of the setup that Odin gave his team. And he's actually going to be taken out here soon. PandaCat finding a revenge kill onto the mollusk. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to spell a victory for the guys on Neilm. But now Turnip a little out of position. Immediately is backed up by the rest of his team. JiminyGlick is going to be taken out. PandaCat on the run. This could be the turn of the game.
Yeah, it could very much be a turn. That was a really good fight. Going to take out 3 of the side of Neilm. However, they're not looking for the Fire Giant. They still aren't positive that they can take this out on their own. They want to try and make sure that they've got everything they can. So they're going to go for this Gold Fury instead. It's sitting on about 25% health. PandaCat's still here though. Luckily, a little bit of zoning from that Khepri route is going to be able to keep him away just enough for Team Resist to get that Gold Fury.
So now it's up to Resist to actually capitalize on their lead that they just gave themselves. Not the lead, but they actually brought it up to a 5k differential. But the momentum that they just gave themselves, it's up to them to capitalize and possibly push for a Fire Giant, because Neilm has not been able to find a good team fight yet.
Yeah, they've been struggling with these team fights, and the biggest problem is their pit composition, which they were running earlier, of the kill Balentine, kill deadlymidget, make sure that we get them, don't care how many ultimates we use, we can use 3, 4 or 5 ultimates on them, but as long as we kill them, that's all that matters. That doesn't work anymore. If they kill deadlymidget, then Balentine's going to be sitting in the middle of the team fights healing up. If they kill Turnip, then that's just going to mean the Balentine's going to be sitting there as well as deadlymidget. If they kill Balentine, deadlymidget's going to be there in the middle of the team fight doing so much damage. I mean, if we have a look at the player damage charts, you can see, although he's not on the high levels, he is still pretty high up, but we do have a fight happening right now. Isis Ultimate's going to be on the Odin as well. deadlymidget's in the middle of this. He's taking so much damage, forced to use the Khepri Ultimate though, but it looks like PandaCat's taking way more, going to be forced to heal up a little bit using his heart. Balentine going to get ulted by Grishank here, taking so much damage though, but they're not taking enough, and then everyone inside the Team Resist is healing up. They're all on full health compared to Neilm, and now Neilm has to back away. Grishank is back on full health, but PandaCat's not going to be able to heal them up enough. JiminyGlick going to be the one chased down.
2 3-man stun balls from Isis, and they're still chasing. I think JiminyGlick is going to have to say goodbye. Yeah, he's going to be taken out. Odin able to just back in time. And this is the problem. They want to invest in the Hell. They want to take her out, but they just can't. Every time Serqet goes onto him with the ultimate, the Aegis immediately follows, and they invest so much into trying to, burst her down. It's just not working out for him. And that's why Fire Giant is going to be started up and possibly completed by the guys on the side of Resist. But it might be a bit more than they can handle, as Odin able to lock down their attention just long enough to maybe buy some time for his team. Fire Giant down to 50% health just about. Serqet split pushing her little heart out is going to distract them long enough, and now there's backup here. They're still wanting to do something, and Odin jumps in, not able to take the Fire Giant, but at the very least they have a Phoenix in their advantage. Odin's probably going to die here, and the rest of his team is going to try and focus on taking out the Zhong, who is getting boxed by Cupid. There's the Heavenly Agility, dodging, not going to be able to dodge enough. PAndaCat able to find the kill on the Deadly Midget, so that's at least one target who is not going to have Fire Giant.
Yep, but Covi is still being chased by Leftsyndrome here. He doesn't have enough damage. The ultimate's actually going to be used. Grishank was still here. He hadn't left. He knew that he wasn't going to be able to do anything with the Fire Giant. He wasn't going to be able to get there in time. So the thing that he's decided to do was sit there, split push left lane, take out another Phoenix. And now he's going to find out Turnip, going to get the Cobra's Kiss onto him, actually ulting him as well. Grishank going to be sitting in the middle of the Hui ultimate, which is the worst thing to do. Mollusk using his ultimate on top of that, but it's not going to be in the right place. And now Team Resist aren't going to be able to find anything. Luckily they have a lot of healing. They do need to have someone sat in that left side lane, and to be honest I think that's actually where they need to say that that's where they're going to push. They have a tier 1 tower up there which is free for them pretty much right now. They should be looking just to push out that left lane.
Well, what I really like about this this Serqet right now is that she keeps looking for opportunities to just take away from Resist's attention. So Resist goes for the Fire Giant, but all of a sudden Serqet's just split pushing. You're like, crap, we can't deal with this. And usually you expect that from like Apollo, Loki, characters like that. But all of a sudden Serqet's doing it, and you're just not sure how to approach that necessarily, because you don't usually expect it. But there's now 2 Phoenixes that even when they're up are going to be at least half health and half damage, so that's going to be easy picking for Serqet if she finds the ability to get under the Phoenix with at least something taunting it for a little bit in these next couple of minutes. And I think that's probably Neilm's best way to stay relevant in the game, because they don't have any bare Phoenixes yet. Resist can't even actually touch any of the Phoenixes on Neilm's side just yet, because they haven't necessarily done the best in terms of objective control. But look at this, Neilm might be taking the aggressive route here.
Yeah, they want to find Turnip and all of these guys while they're on their own, and they're going to be able to go onto the Mollusk. He's actually going to be one zoned out. Odin Cage is going to be onto Turnip only, though. Leftsyndrome going to hold the Mollusk, trying to make sure he keeps alive. He is actually probably going to get out here. Yes, and now the Deadly Midget is going to run through with that insane ultimate. The Recall Goat and Demons is going to be out. NeiruMah is going to be the first to fall, though. The only one to fall in that fight, even as Neilm are all running away, licking their wounds as Covi nearly fell. Very close, wasn't quite enough. JiminyGlick's on about half health, but he's not going to be able to defend against this Fire Gianted team.
The one big issue that Neilm is having is that Khepri is just keeping everyone alive for so long. I mean, you saw Thor just getting a free Berserker Barrage right in the middle of all the members of Neilm, and nothing could be done about it, because if they invested into killing him, they're just basically giving him a reset on his health bar, and they know that they can't kill him afterwards because he's just going to Mjolnir's attunement out and just be quite content chilling out with his team. So it's really difficult for them to actually be able to do anything with this team composition, because there's so much healing, there's so much survivability, and there's just not enough kill security.
The worst thing as well for the side of Neilm is that they have very little healing reduction outside of the Serqet and Odin. They have a lot of healing reduction when you include both of those, seeing as both of their ultimates are 100% healing reduction. However, they've not been using them most effectively in the fight. It's sort of been Odin's going and targeting one person or so, when Hel may not even be in that fight, or Serqet's using her ultimate to initiate in on the side of onto Team Resist. It's just not really been working for them. Then that leaves only the Isis sitting with Divine Ruin, and that's not enough to be able to get out this constant healing coming out from Balentine. Plus, he's only getting a couple of targets with Wind Gust, 1 or 2 with Spirit Ball is not enough, though. You need to be trying to hit the entire team with these sort of abilities, and the only one that she can is her ultimate, but that's not really being used in that sort of sense.
Well, right now, I think one of the bigger issues that Neilm's going to run into is check out all this warding going on the left side of the map. They know that Serqet wants to split push. They know that she's going to be an annoyance if they allow her to do what she pleases. And so they just sentry warded the entirety of the left side of the map. Now, Grishank wants to go in on Turnip and doesn't know that the mollusk is here. Sees him at the last minute and is just going to be able to start to make his escape. And none of the members of Resist are going to be able to catch Serqet. That's just Serqet.
Did you see where Serqet was standing? That was actually in the middle. That was just on the edge of a sentry ward that she had no idea about.
Yeah, pretty much. And so now the members of Neilm are going to chill out around this fire giant and start to do the fire giant dance of death. And Yi realizes that he has to defend this Phoenix, so he's got to depend on the rest of his team to make the big play. So if and only if Resist can defend against, or Resist can win 4v4 here, then they can start to make a big play. But doesn't matter, Turnip actually able to find the kill on Grishank, and now the entirety of momentum is on Resist's side. They can feel very confident in taking out a couple of members of Neilm here, and then turning that around into more plays. But it looks like Neilm's not going to go away quietly. They're going to try and make something happen here, and it doesn't look like it's going to really matter all that much. Just a retreat call is going to be the decision.
Yeah, the retreat call is going to be the decision, but there's going to be so much chase up that Leftsyndrome is going to be able to take out Covi. PAndaCat is still around, but they pretty much used all of their ultimates just to try and get away, and they weren't able to really do too much. PAndaCat does have his... He is the only ultimate left standing on the side of Neilm, and they're not going to be able to do this. You can just see it in Neilm's way of how they're moving about the map now. They are very disappointed that they weren't able to close this game out earlier. Now Team Resist are getting back together. They've got 5 men running down this right side. They're going to be able to take out this tier 2 tower, looking for the Phoenix as well, possibly. This is looking quite nasty for Neilm, even though they were ahead this entire game.
I mean, but again, we just have to talk about how one team comp is so centered around the mid game, and then one team comp is extremely centered around the late game. And the late game team comp is going to win out most times because it's hard to actually force out a mid game win, especially in a series like this where there's a lot of money on the line. It's not going to be a situation where there's like, okay, well, we lost the early game, time to surrender, GG, we're done. No, they're going to go ahead, fight it out, realize that we have the better late game team comp, and then say, all right, well, if we make it past this point, if we make it past this exact interval, then they can't exactly fight with us. And at 40 minutes, I think they've reached that interval.
Yeah, they have definitely reached this interval, and I mean the best way to show it was that 1v1 fight between Yi and Serqet. I didn't even get to see it, it was so fast, because that's what Yi does. He so 2 or 3 shots people. He is such a damaging character late game, and this is the biggest problem. And unfortunately, it just took Neilm too long to be able to find these good fights for them. They had a very good shot. They took out all of the towers. They've taken out 2 Phoenixes. And they can still win this. Yeah, and they even have Fire Giant. They can still win this. It's just going to be quite difficult for them. Also, one thing that I want to mention, as you said, this is a lot of money on the line. Most people in the chat may not actually know how much. $5,000 is first place, and these guys are fighting to get into the finals right now.
They $5,000 is pretty changing for a broke college kid. Now, I'm pretty sure most of you guys on the side of Neilm are broke college kids, especially NeiruMah. So they're gonna go ahead and start sieging down the Phoenix Resist, and if anything, they probably are looking for an initiation opportunity, at least on Serqet. Serqet being one of the big win factors for Neilm. And there she goes. She's going to try and make the big play. Neilm making a final effort into trying to defend this Phoenix. And JiminyGlick already being bursted down. He's not going to be able to survive. Meanwhile, Odin in a bad spot. And Serqet is not going to be able to do anything. She's just getting back into the lane. Covi, on the other hand, was able to get a kill onto Yi while he wasn't looking. And it's still continuing. This fight is still continuing. But again, Hell Heals plus Fire Giant, a bit too much to ask for Resist, or excuse me, Neilm to actually defend against. That's going to be the Phoenix going, and they're going to take another one.
Yep, luckily for the side of Neilm, Turnip did fall, so it's going to be a little more difficult as there's not much physical damage. However, the Zhong with his little minions doing a lot more damage than I think they were expecting to these Phoenixes. They are still able to do these siege compositions, especially with Balentine. The Odin ultimate is actually going to come out. It's going to be quite nasty for them. They're all going to be caught in it except Balentine. Unfortunately, it's already over though. deadlymidget is going to get healed up even more, and now this is going to turn around again onto the side of Neilm. PAndaCat already dead.
Oh man, Odin came in with a lot of damage, but it doesn't really matter when there's a lot of healing on the other side. Serqet comes out. I have to imagine this one probably will realize the writing on the wall. There's 2 phases down, and a third one soon after. It's not looking good for Neilm. They realize that they can't really do much here. NeiruMah's going to be taken out. Final person taken out. The Phoenix is going to be taken out as well. Isis can't really make a good defense here. All she's got is circle protection. So now all Phoenixes are down. Neilm is bare. They have no defenses left, and it looks like Resist not going to try and go for the killing blow, just rather electing to go ahead, back, spend the last bit of gold, and get the final push that they need.
Yep, they definitely want to try and get this final push coming out. Fire Giant's going to be up again. This is probably going to be the last final bit of contention. However, Neilm is not going to have the ability to be able to try and defend it. This is just going to kill them. They are either going to die to the Fire Giant fight, or they're going to die to the all 3 lanes being pushed in. They have to push it out sort of a fairly long distance to be able to have a good Fire Giant defense, of which Team Resist can then just say, oh well, if you're going to sit here, we're just going to let you sit here. You're going to have to wait, we're just going to let our minions push, and you're going to be able to, you're eventually going to have to go back. In any sort of way, we are going to get this Fire Giant. So what are you going to do about it? This is a big problem for Neilm. They need to be able to wait for these Phoenixes to come back up. Otherwise, they just are going to give this Fire Giant up for free. And if they do give it up for free, it's going to be quite difficult for them to actually win the end of this game.
Now, believe it or not, Neilm still has a win condition, and that is Serqet, basically. Essentially, if they can get a good poison off onto multiple parties on the side of Resist, then they can actually turn around, kill the Phoenix, and kill the Titan. There's no towers left on the side of Resist either. They only have their Phoenixes, so that's one of the ways that they can actually turn this game around and win. If they just straight deicide their opponents, and Serqet and say Odin or Geb was the only one left, they could tank the Phoenix and kill the Titan potentially just because of how much damage Serqet has. But that's not really the case. Odin brings out the Ring of Spears just to try and delay the inevitable, and I don't see them actually being able to defend this Titan much longer.
Yeah, they're definitely not going to be able to defend much longer, as JiminyGlick now falls. deadlymidget going to take that kill. NeiruMah being chased as well. However, they don't really need to focus the tanky person. They are going to be able to get him out of this stun. Turnip is going to take out Grishank. NeiruMah is going to be finished off as well. PAndaCat and Covi are the only people left alive, but that's not going to be enough as the Titan falls at 45 minutes in. That was a heck of a long game, but it finally went into Team Resist's favor.
I mean, you know, nothing more to say here, but the team comp versus team comp both had their own win conditions and both tried to shoot for them, and one was a bit more successful than the other. Neilm was playing the game of let's take them out in the middle game, let's just keep the aggression up, keep the healing a no factor as long as possible, because we don't want to try and take it to an extended late game. And then, of course, Resist's victory condition was to just make it to the late game. Literally just making it to the late game was enough of a factor for them. You look at Hell's player healing, 45,000 player healing, actually reaching closer to 46,000. And then Zhong just had to be a tanky upfront body while Turnip does damage in the backside.
Yeah, I mean, it was simple, the fact that Team Resist had so much tankiness and a lot of late game in their team composition compared to Neilm, who had some very early game characters, and they definitely performed incredibly well early on. It was PAndaCat, JiminyGlick running around, taking quite a lot of early kills. Grishank as well found, I think it was the first or the couple 2 or 3 early kills, was sitting at 3-0, but unfortunately they fell off late game pretty quickly, because that is the way that they had built their composition. They were trying to get these sort of 20-minute win, yet that didn't turn out for them. Balentine had too much healing, and to be honest, this was all down to the fact that they just didn't have that they just didn't have the healing reduction. They had it on Isis, and they eventually got Pestilence onto Geb, but that was so late into the game, and they didn't have that weakening curse, of which, even though it has been nerfed, so it only does 65% healing reduction, it is enough to really turn a team fight, and that was a big problem for the side of Neilm, because they didn't have this, they weren't able to win against the hell just sitting there healing up their entire team.
Well, we're going to go ahead and go into Game 5, as this is now becoming a full series. Neilm wasn't able to take away their Game 3, and they're going to have to deal with that as they go up against Resist one more time. This is going to be the last game, no matter who wins or who loses. This one, the person who wins this game, however, is going to go into the finals and have a chance to win $5,000.
Alright, so we're just going to head to a very quick break. We will see you very soon with this 5th game.